Several current and former White House officials tell Politico that the president is angry at former White House aide Cliff Sims' new book that reveals the chaotic inside account of the Trump White House. The report says Sims' former colleagues are calling him a traitor, while Trump is now referring to the former special assistant to the president and director of White House message strategy as simply the videographer.
Well, listen, here's the deal, Cliff.
And Michael Cohen is just,
being called the videographer is not quite as bad as being called the murderer, which is what the president called me.
Oh, right.
So, and called Mika the
affectionately
bleeding badly from a facelift.
Okay. Well,
it's not bad for your career.
You know, I did see it. That scene is in the book. Have you seen that?
Oh.
Have you seen that?
No.
So there's a scene in the book.
Which one?
So the president comes down, and when I would do videos with him in the morning, I'd meet him on the private elevator. He'd get off the private elevator in the residency. He gets off the morning, he sent that tweet. And it's Sean Spicer and I are standing there, and the president comes off and he says, "Have you seen it?" And I said,
wait, which tweet? Murder?
The bleeding from the face tweet.
Oh, great.
And he said, and I said, "I think everyone's seen it." And he said, "Well, what did you think?" And
what did you think?
Poor Sean Spicer says, like, it was very aggressive. And, you know, it just kind of goes into this whole thing, like, they're going to say it's not presidential, tell them it's modern day presidential. And then he went this thing about, but I don't watch that show, so don't tell anybody.
By the way, he lies. You know, Washington Post needs to put that on as a lie. He watches every day. Everybody close to him says he watches.
Who doesn't like to hate
hold
watch
on. Did anyone tell him that was a really dumb thing to do?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that's one thing that people probably be surprised
about.
What did you say? That people, well, I sat that one out. I just that was kind of him and
No, but finish the thought. You were going to say people would be surprised. What people do tell the president, hey, dumb move.
I think people will be surprised that he's actually open to people saying, hey, you know, maybe we should have done that different, or what if we do, you know, X, Y, Z. No, he's going to do what he's going to do. But he will take the feedback.
Can we stop this train right here?
Yeah.
And let's consider what you just said. He's the president of the United States. He's beginning his workday.
Right.
He comes down on the elevator from the residence. The press secretary and you are there to greet him. The beginning of the president's workday. And he says, "Have you seen it?" Talking about a tweet?
Yeah.
Well, but it's all about reaction. Again, I call him a day trader. He's a minute trader. The guy is constantly, I said he's like an amoeba. He's constantly moving, looking for outside stimuli. I'm curious. Let me ask you something about Donald Trump, which, of course, the fact that I bring this up will enrage a lot of people, I'm sure, watching the show. But I always have people come to me saying, I've got to go meet the president. What's he like? And I said, chances are good if you don't work for him, you're going to go in and you're going to be shocked. Because personally, and Mike's heard this from a lot of people.
This is hard to hear, like people who've been maligned by him.
It's hard to hear this,
but people who feel
even
he's
Nancy
racist.
Pelosi, Hillary Clinton would tell you, he's a very engaging, at times likable guy. I hear he's horrible to staff. Did you ever see the engaging, likable side of Donald Trump inside the White House?
No question. And there's a scene in the book where actually the Congressional Black Caucus comes in to meet with him. And I think they came in pretty loaded for bear. And then they get in the room and they found out, to your point, what almost everybody does, which is you just kind of can't help but like the guy when you spend time with him. He's a great host, very gregarious. I remember being on the 14th floor of Trump Tower when he brought you guys in. He wanted to show you guys the war room there in Trump Tower and all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of the way that, he is a great host. And I'll say even, like, my personal experience. Which, by the way,
there was a funny moment because, we were at war with Trump for the entire campaign, but Jared had said, hey, we want you to at least come over and look at the campaign room. They opened up the door, we walked in, and there was an audible gasp. Like, who let the enemies in? It was like, ah! But
that's not true. We were glad to have you guys.
Yeah, but tell me if you get this impression too. I think that one of the, for me at least, and for Mika, one of the hundreds of tragedies of this presidency is that because Donald Trump could be so engaging, he's decided to play it dirty. And for instance, we saw him for 12 years behind closed doors, never ever once, I'll say it under oath, I'll put into an affidavit, never once heard him say anything close to being racially insensitive. Never once. And yeah, okay, he took out an ad for Central Park 5 or whatever. I'm just saying, personally, behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And you just sit there and wonder, for a guy that even Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Hillary Clinton will tell you, personally, he's an engaging, fun guy, the Congressional Black Caucus, you wonder, why did he take this path instead of being open and gregarious and working with everybody and actually running a modern administration, a unifying administration?
Yeah. I spend a lot of time in this book trying to help people make sense of what makes Donald Trump tick, the way he approaches the decision-making process. I'm not trying to convince you to be for him or against him, but just kind of seeing firsthand what it looks like. And one of those is the Charlottesville incident. I go through that in a chapter in the book. I talk a lot about that. My experience is very similar to yours. I've never heard Donald Trump say anything in private, act in any way in private that made me think in any way that he had a racist bone in his body. The Charlottesville incident, though, I think he felt under siege. I think he felt attacked, and his instinct is to punch back and double down. But I do think that those are opportunities that were missed to really bring racial reconciliation and healing in a way that, that kind of the president only can, because he's got that giant megaphone, that giant platform. Certainly would have liked to see that a little bit more at times.
And you know, Willie, one time, and we've talked about it before, where Trump called me up screaming. And he said, "Stop calling me a racist on TV. You know I'm not a racist. You've known me." And I go, "Yeah, I know you're not a racist personally, but you play one on TV for cheap votes, Donald, and that's even worse."
Yep.
Well, I mean, you could add in the proposed Muslim ban. I mean, did any of these moments give you pause? Did he ever talk to you, for example, about the birther conspiracy that he helped lead, and did you view that as racist when he did?
I never talked to him about that.
But you heard him say it publicly.
Sure,
did that give you pause?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things that Donald Trump says that give me pause. There's a lot of things I'm like, good grief, you know? You talk about the tweets and all these different things. The way I approached it as a staffer was, you know, these things don't affect my workday. I've got a job to do here. I'm trying to serve the American people. I'm trying to do the best job that I can. And, you know, as a staffer, you always have two options, right? The president makes a decision or does something you disagree with. Well, you either get on board and try to do the best you can even when you disagree. You subordinate your views to the president, or you quit. I think those are both can be honorable. My wife and I wrestled a lot with, you know, the first chapter of my book is called A Slow Climb Aboard the Trump Train, because I wasn't a Trump supporter right out of the gate. And ultimately, we decided not a lot of people have an opportunity to work in the White House, to interact with the most powerful person on the planet, and I did. And if I didn't take that opportunity, I could never again say that I wish there was someone there representing my
So did you quit on principle then? Is that what you're saying? You left the White House on principle?
No, actually the last chapter of the book is I accepted a job as senior advisor to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and I was blocked from that job by General Kelly, and so that's kind of how I exited Trump world.
You've heard publicly, we've heard privately too, the White House says you were fired, and that it came from the chief of staff and others, that you were to be let go for sneaking videos and doing other things like that.
Yeah,
How do you respond?
I mean, there's a reason the book is called Team of Vipers, right? And they're kind of proving it with that. And they haven't said that on the record. It's like they, you know, sources say kind of thing. And I talk a lot about that in the book. I mean, that's really a picture of what it's like working in that White House. That anything that happens, you can bet you're going to walk out of that room and you're going to get a call from a reporter because somebody's saying something about their colleague.
So let's hold right here. When we come back, we're going to talk about
Stay with us, Cliff.
Kellyanne Conway, along with a lot.
Mike has a question.
A lot of other things. Mike has some
the videographer is going to stay with us.
Yeah. Hey.
And we will be right back. Continue the conversation.
Lock down our 8-track
Team of Vipers.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.